Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. Folks are jumping on, so we'll give it another few minutes. Appreciate your patience. Hi, everyone. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. We still have a number of folks jumping on. Thanks for your patience. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to welcome you to Stocking Your Empty Aisles, shining a light on the plight of online shoppers with health and wellness needs. I'm Lauren Gibbons. I'm part of our marketing team here at Label Insight. And on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking this time and spending it with us. And as we're all still working and recording from home, we'd also appreciate your forgiveness if there are any technical glitches on today's webinar. A few housekeeping notes before we get going. This webinar is being recorded and you'll receive an email with a link to view that recording within 24 hours. Since we're such a large group today, you're an attendee in listen only mode. So please use that Q&A feature in the bottom middle panel to ask any questions. We'll be monitoring the Q&A throughout the webinar and we'll save time to answer those at the end. If we're not able to answer your question live today, we'll be sure to get back to you with an answer within 24 hours. If you have any technical issues, use that raise hand feature in the bottom middle panel and one of us will chat you directly to help you resolve that. Finally, we'd love to hear from you after the webinar is over. So if a question pops up after you leave, reach out anytime to marketing@labelinsight.com and we'll make sure your question gets answered. Your presenters today are Dave Byman and Brooke Bright. Dave is the head of enterprise sales at Label Insight. He advises top retailers and brands on how to drive sales growth and meet consumer demand for transparency. Brooke is the Director of Retail Product Management at Label Insight. She's passionate about data and business strategy. She enjoys spending time in market with our customers. Brooke and team build solutions to empower brands and retailers to make data-driven decisions across their organization to grow revenue and shopper loyalty. Dave and Brooke both support our customers like Target, Instacart, Conagra, Unilever, Walmart, and Google. Dave, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Lauren. So we wanted to start by welcoming our esteemed e-commerce community. We've really formed a tribe, haven't we? It's such a pleasure getting to work with such a great group of talented and passionate professionals, all working to tackle very similar challenges. And we're honored to have such a great group and impressive list of companies joining us today, from places like Albertsons and Conagra, to Amazon and Instacart, to Walgreens and Peapod, to Walmart, Unilever, H-E-B, and way too many others to name here. Over the course of the balance of the hour, we'll share with you the market dynamics accelerating our industry that have led to a massive demand for product knowledge and personalization. As the list of things consumers care about when shopping for CPG products online continues to expand to an increasingly extensive and endlessly varied catalog of needs and wants, to help consumers not only adhere to their lifestyle, but treat and prevent a broad range of ailments, conditions, and diseases. We'll share how retailers are responding to these market forces by creating experiences to guide consumers to the products personalized to their diets, health concerns, and lifestyle choices, and the opportunity to better serve consumers by empowering them with product knowledge to lead healthier, better lives. What we hope you'll take away from this webinar is a better understanding of this market opportunity by uncovering where retailers may be missing the mark today, insight into how retailers can improve upon their strategies to help consumers find the products that meet their needs and wants, and last but not least, how Label Insight can help. So let's start by digging into what we're seeing in the market and how consumer behavior has changed. I know it comes as news to no one that consumers are changing the way they shop. And one of the driving forces behind this change is the continued emphasis on health and wellness. Health dominates consumer motivations. Food is used as medicine to treat and prevent a wide array of medical conditions, ailments, lifestyles, and life stages. And more than 70% of shoppers indicate they're looking for specific attributes that are important to them when choosing a brand, as the mandate for transparency and personalization to help consumers treat and prevent health concerns only continues to increase. In July of this year, the Food Marketing Institute and Label Insight released results of our survey of 1,000 adult consumers who shop for groceries both online and in store on the topic of transparency. Our research found that more than 64% of consumers follow some form of diet or health-related eating program. And looking at this list of diets on the right, the challenge for consumers, brands, and retailers is plain to see. There are just so many, from low sugar to paleo, from high protein to vegan, from gluten-free to Whole30. Shopping for these products is hard because it's hard for retailers and brands to equip themselves with the data to cater to such a broad and varied range of diets. And getting this right represents a huge opportunity, not just for consumers, but also for the retailers who can capitalize on massive and growing markets around diets like plant-based and ketogenic. Retail sales of plant-based foods have grown 11.4% in the past year, bringing the total plant-based market value to $5 billion. The ketogenic diet, which puts an emphasis on high-fat foods, is expected to have a market worth more than $15 billion by 2027. And these markets represent just a mere fraction of the billions of dollars consumers are spending to help them lead a healthier lifestyle. Digging into the topic of food as medicine, when you consider that heart disease is the #1 cause of death in the United States, with an estimated 46% of US adults suffering from hypertension, nearly 2/3 of Americans indicating they're concerned about their weight and how extra pounds might lead to heart disease, it's not surprising that addressing this issue is top of mind for retailers. The Mediterranean diet has been shown to be one of the best ways to promote heart health, and yet less than 15% of Americans know it. This represents a significant opportunity for retailers to not only address a critical public health issue, but to grow their bottom line. And to expand upon that, consider that 32 million Americans suffer from food allergies, with 1 in 4 consumers, or 85 million Americans, sharing that they don't buy products containing one of the top 9 most common allergens. Those 85 million Americans spend a total of $19 billion on groceries annually. But are retailers effectively supporting their needs? We'll dig into that a little bit further on this webinar. With 200 million consumers adhering to a particular diet or health-related eating program, and nearly as many indicating that a food allergy or intolerance affects the way that they shop, need-state shopping is big business. And putting that in the context of the massive explosion and continued growth in online grocery, with 46 million Americans shopping online for groceries in June of this year, spending $7 billion, comparing that to the just 16 million shoppers and $1 billion a year ago, this change in consumer behavior is impossible to ignore. When you consider that more than 80% of online grocery searches are unbranded, meaning consumers are proactively seeking to discover products based on their unique set of needs and wants, the reward for tackling this challenge is clear to see. But are retailers responding effectively? Let's dive into our research to learn more. Our assessment is that today, for many retailers, search and discovery is broken in online grocery. A search on Amazon for peanut-free returns peanut butter, peanuts, and ice cream with peanuts in it. A search for egg-free returns a carton of eggs. The examples of irrelevant search results go on and on and on. And for the millions of consumers suffering from allergies for which getting this right has potentially critical consequences, this is a critical shortcoming in our industry. And perhaps worse yet, the list of searches that return zero or woefully limited results is just as rampant. Consumers are seeking out a vast array of attributes: ketogenic, gluten-free, low sodium, paraben-free, sustainable, no artificial ingredients, Whole30, paleo, nutrient-dense, minimally processed, whole grain. The list goes on and on and on. And they're finding a depleted digital shelf with either very few or entirely irrelevant search results. And this broken experience not only belies the trust of the consumer in the retailer or the manufacturer, which might cause them to seek out other channels or try new brands, it's also an enormously missed opportunity to capture the loyalty and spend of consumers that are willing to pay more and buy more of the products that meet their individualized needs and wants. So let's take a look at a couple of retailers. We'll start with Publix. Publix shoppers are fiercely loyal. They rave about their local Publix store. So too, though, as we've seen, are consumers about heart health. And of the 29 page one search results for heart healthy on their site, 26 are either animal hearts, artichoke hearts, or hearts of palm. Are those products heart healthy? Maybe, but it's certainly not what the consumer meant or what they were searching for. And it's obviously also not representative of Publix assortment of thousands of products across their digital store that in fact contribute to heart health. At Food Lion, they seem to be doing better with relevance and intent, but for a mere 3 products. As shoppers continue to search for products online based on their health needs, retailers need to develop a better strategy to ensure their digital shelves are stocked more effectively. Most of us have probably experienced this for ourselves when shopping for groceries online. Take Kroger, for example. A digital trip to Kroger for nitrate-free bacon returns 0 results. A digital trip to my own Mariano's in Chicago for products that adhere to the paleo diet returns 0 results. Their digital shelf is empty for consumers seeking out products with these characteristics. And to be sure, Kroger has a number of nitrate-free bacon products in stock, but their digital shelf is empty. Mariano's, no doubt, has a wide assortment of paleo products, but in their digital store, those shelves are depleted. Moving on to Costco, where you can find everything from deals on a 3-gallon jug of ketchup to half-price Van Helsing DVDs to trampolines and bouncy houses. But if you're looking to manage your health, finding the products you want proves incredibly challenging. Just 2 results apiece for a search for low sodium or heart healthy. The products are there, but the experience to support their discovery is not. What about Whole Foods? Whole Foods is synonymous with health and wellness, and yet trying to find the products at their digital store proves to be rather challenging. A search for sugar-free snacks on Whole Foods brings back mostly, well, sugar. This sort of reminds me when companies send you an email confirming you've opted out of future emails when you're asking to unsubscribe. It's insult to injury. This is the exact opposite of what the consumer is asking for, which leads us to this question. Just how widespread is this issue? Let's pass it to the expert, our own Brooke Bright, to dig into the research.
Thanks, Dave, and very happy to be here with you all today. Thank you for taking the time. Examples like what Dave shared really piqued our interest internally, and it ultimately led us to complete an audit of retailers' e-commerce sites. We really wanted to know, how widespread is this issue? How hard does a consumer actually have to work to find products that meet their needs? What retailers are doing it well today? And maybe where can we all take a moment to reflect and recognize that we still have a lot of room for improvement? Based on our research, we had a suspicion that the audit would reveal retailers are underserving consumers and have yet to optimize their e-commerce experience for specific need states and dietary preferences. To truly answer those questions, we selected 30 popular e-commerce sites, ranging from grocers to superstores, to health and beauty retailers, and of course, we did not forget about our four-legged friends either. Across each site, we selected a location and recorded the total number of products available online. We would then apply existing advanced filter options, also known as faceted search, and record how many products would return for each filter. Finally, we compared this to Label Insight's database of products and attributes to help understand and compare the average application rate versus the retailer's current performance. We used this analysis to ultimately evaluate retailers on three primary criteria. First, how many need states and preferences are retailers supporting today? And that's ultimately represented by the number of advanced filters present. Two, are retailers catering to the most popular need states and wants? And this is determined by comparing the retailer's filters to what we actually know as the top searched for attributes in the US today. And finally, how well do retailers support these consumer need states and preferences? And to analyze this, we compared the total number of resulting products versus the retailer's total assortment and the market average. So when we pulled this all together, what did the audit reveal? First, what retailers include filters? So 21 out of 30 retailers that were audited include advanced filters or faceted search. That's great, but it also means 9 didn't. That is almost 30%. So if you're a retailer today without advanced search functionality, I would really encourage you that now is the time to start that investment roadmap. Advanced filters or faceted search really help communicate to your shoppers as soon as they land on your page that you have optimized your e-commerce experience, that you want to help answer these consumer product questions, and you want to cater to these need states. It really makes online shopping as easy as a single click of the mouse for those consumers. It led us to another question. So when a filter is present, how many filters do retailers include on average? I get this question every day from our retail partners. When filters are present, retailers include an average of 27.1 attribute-based filters. Although we observed retailers with as few as 2 through retailers with over 100 filters. It really depends on your assortment. A fun learning along the way was essentially 1 in 4 retailers also included a proprietary attribute as one of their filters. Examples range from Target and Sephora's clean icon, to Harris Teeter's Free From 101, to H-E-B's Primo Pick and Select Ingredients, and that list goes on and on. So most retailers are including a decent number of filters on their site. The next logical question is, well, when filters are present, are retailers currently returning complete product results? And to answer this, we observed over 250 distinct attributes throughout this audit. It included things like heart healthy, gluten-free, low sodium, vegan, and so on. These graphs on the left represent a subset of the observed attributes to help communicate our data and findings visually. And what we found is that retailers on average today are failing to return 92% of qualifying products for filters already built into their e-commerce site. That really means for every 10 products that could be returned, today, retailers are returning 1. This gap is likely due to incomplete, siloed, poor quality data as retailers continue to evolve their data management systems. Most PIMs and MDMs at retailers were originally designed to support in-store operations, but now retailers are sort of feeling that pressure as they evolve to support growing digital needs at their organization. There is really a critical demand and what we think of as a billion-dollar opportunity for retailers who will invest in and prioritize their e-commerce experience. But so much of that starts with having the right data. When we analyzed those same 250 attributes based on the data CPGs have stated on their product label via claims and certifications, you'll surely find improvement. But still, using this data, retailers would fail to return 1 out of every 2 qualifying products. If a retailer were truly able to perfectly capture or access on-package data, it would elevate their product response, enabling 44% of qualifying products to return. But said another way, retailers will be missing 56% of products on average. This really means that online grocery, a tool designed to help save shoppers time and to find relevant products, still has a long way to go to match the in-store data experience, where consumers can readily pick up a product off the shelf and spin it around in their hands to answer their questions. Beyond that, I mean, I think we all think of e-commerce as representing an opportunity to do data differently. Think of it this way: a CPG can only fit so many claims on their label. Likewise, lots of items that are carried by retailers, such as apples, broccoli, turkey, they're probably not going to have a label at all. But we know these products qualify for attributes like paleo, low fat, heart healthy, and are critical to the consumer diet. As consumers select advanced filters, their expectation is that many marketplaces customized to their designated need states and preferences suddenly appear. A retailer who could return every gluten-free product that also contained little or no added sugar would definitely win my business every time, but only if that retailer existed. The opportunity to win consumers like myself is here. So what are we really waiting for? Going beyond the label through nutritional and ingredient analysis paired with systematic application of regulations and rules and systems leads to the ideal state of data. And that's really a retailer with a data set where less than 1% of products are missing from the filter and search product result experience, where a consumer selects an attribute and they get a holistic and personalized experience capable of answering their every question, improving user satisfaction, which inherently helps increase cart size and customer lifetime value. When I saw these initial results, I was pretty shocked, and I felt the need to really dive in further and challenge our thinking. So instead of thinking about it as all 250 attributes, I said, what if we only looked at the top 25 most prevalent attribute filters observed? Would retailers be returning more products on average? And it turns out there is definite improvement, but it still leaves a lot to be desired. On average, across the top 25 most prevalent advanced filters, retailers still fail to return 53% of qualifying products. And by the way, if you're wanting to understand how big of an opportunity that is, these top attributes represent over 51 million searches on Amazon in the past 52 weeks, and really represent a huge opportunity for optimization at every retailer. So I felt like we understood retailer sites fail to sometimes perform on how holistic the filter results are. But I kind of had a second question, which is, have retailers included and selected the best filters? And how you define best is, up to you. But the way we think about it is noting the top 25 attributes consumers are actively searching. And we've analyzed that based on a panel of 9 million shoppers. And when we do that, we found these top attributes like organic, non-GMO, low carb, fat-free, sugar-free, ketogenic, and more were actually only present as a filter on the retailer site 23% of the time. What that means is that even if retailers are including filters, most often they're failing to include the attributes that matter most to consumers. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. Of those top 25 consumer need states and preferences, which again is based on the rate those attributes are sought out via organic search, you can see the percent of retailers with the advanced filter on their site, as well as the percent of products failing to be returned. And finally, we selected a sample of the retailers audited to provide a visual of what attributes are included where. For example, the fat-free attribute is present at 40% of retailers, but on average, those retailers fail to return 86% of qualifying products. Atkins is another example, which made it into the top 25, yet no retailer today included an advanced filter based on our audit. If you're interested in diving deeper, at the end of the webinar, Lauren will be letting you know how to access a full copy of this report. So the next question we had was, do retailers with more filters return different number of products? And so we observed retailers, like we said, with 2 filters and others with over 100. And so the question was, as retailers add more filters, is there any correlation with the effectiveness or performance of those given filters? And the correlation is pretty hard to ignore. It stands to show how critical not only selecting the right attributes are, but also making sure and ensuring you have the data capable to support those filters and that search experience. There is an inverse relationship between the number of filters present and the completeness which those filters return products. Said another way, the more filters present on a retailer's site, the higher the rate of missing products. And we can drive it back to need states too. We could highlight a few of the most common need states. Let's start with gluten-free, where 68% of the retailers have actually included a gluten-free filter on their e-commerce site. Yet on average, these retailers fail to return 44% of qualifying products. There's an eerily similar storyline for heart health. I think at the beginning of the webinar, Dave pointed out that almost half of Americans suffer from hypertension. So for me, it was really surprising that only 1 in 4 retailers included a heart healthy filter on their e-commerce site. And when that filter was included, 66% of qualifying products fail to return. So the audit confirms there is a lack of data accessible to retailers as they build out functionality and user experience on their e-commerce site. But for a moment, I want to flip the script. I want you to imagine your organization has all of the data you need. What kind of strategic and innovative projects could you and your team drive? How could you win and delight customers and increase loyalty and repeat visits? Advanced filters, like we've discussed, are often the first functionality retailers opt to implement for digital attribution. Again, it's a signal to shoppers that you have prioritized need states and preferences and want to make shopping easy. How many filters, what filters you select, and how well those filters perform are 3 key things. While there are common themes across all retailers, we recommend analyzing the search data on your site and using transaction data to understand what is driving your shopper. We consistently find when we walk into the room with retailers that we work with and receive search data on behalf of that they have different trends. While ketogenic might ring true as the top trend at Whole Foods, Atkins still reigns supreme at Walmart. As far as number of filters, we've personally seen great success with anywhere between 10 and 50 filters, where if you start getting on that upper end, you're starting to think about organization and user experience. And if you're planning to enable different filters per department, like maybe no added sugar in grocery, but paraben-free in beauty, then a lot of retailers could even benefit from going beyond the 50. Once you've integrated the data as advanced filters, the next step most retailers take is to use that same data to improve and power their search experience. So there are still many retailer e-commerce sites where filtering on and searching for products produce different results. For example, a ketogenic filter might return 1 supplement product, but using the free text search bar for a term like keto or keto snacks could return either 0 products or, in potentially worse circumstances, 1,000 results, which might include questionable products. We know 81% of searches on Amazon are organic and unbranded, and we also know that attribute-driven search is continuing to increase over time. So most retailer sites that are using basic search functionality, like analyzing the product title versus the consumer search term, we know those retailers are actively investing in advancing this functionality and looking to build out more advanced search models and deeper semantic tagging and analysis. Having a clean set of data where for every UPC in your system, you can get a yes/no answer for what attributes it qualifies for, and understanding how those attributes are searched is going to be key for retailers to build a robust and dynamic search engine. Showing a consumer you can quickly help them find familiar products that meet their needs while also prompting them with new products that meet their search criteria are both important. Remember, when you analyze this search behavior, it's not just a once and done thing. It is important to think about this over time so you can find attributes that might be declining in popularity, but also find new trends that are appearing and creating bright spots. I always love to think of it this way. Keto was not the thing 2 years ago like it is today. If you've done that and you have strong advanced filter and strong organic search functionality, another great way retailers are starting to integrate this data is into their loyalty program and mobile applications. Although I will say I haven't seen it across too many retailers today. Beginning to portray attributes within your applications to help consumers quickly find products that meet their needs, even while not in the store or online. A lot of times loyalty apps have the ability for consumers to create shopping lists quickly and effortlessly. Attributes are definitely going to help that. Loyalty apps are also a great way to start laying the foundation to understand your consumer better over time as you track their behavior and their purchases. Attribute data with internal analytics can help you understand what's driving your consumer, their correlations and their indexes, and you can start to build smarter product recommendations. So that when a consumer adds gluten-free pasta to their cart, you can recommend either a gluten-free bread or another product that shares similar attribution profile, like organic, no added sugar, and non-GMO, rather than garlic bread, which is really an uninformed recommendation. This is really where true personalization is born. Many retailers and visionaries that we've spoken with envision this future world where shoppers are always fed the next most relevant item on their shopping list, increasing shopper satisfaction, decreasing time spent shopping, but maintaining, if not growing, average basket size. A similar strategy can be used for product replacements. This example reveals a product replacement relying strictly on noodle type. But what that fails to account for is originally the requested pasta is formulated with legumes and it's high in protein. Instead of replacing it just with another rotini, replacing that product with Banza yields a much better fit and improves customer satisfaction. They share an attribution profile. Using product attribution profiles to replace these products with their most similar counterpart is really important now as COVID continues to challenge retailers and CPG's ability to keep products in stock, both on the shelf and in the warehouse. As we make sense of this new normal, consumers are not shying away from sharing their crazy substitution stories. Believe it or not, there are even Facebook groups out there like Grocery Substitution Shaming, where shoppers share their craziest stories. Another really great way, if you have a good set of data, is to start going beyond traditional audiences like categories and brands and start to get to know the why behind the buy. Similar to loyalty and in need state and preferences via attributes, knowing what products get what attributes can enable retailers to create and develop these correlation or affinity indexes for every shopper ID, ensuring that you serve consumers relevant coupons and offers. Audiences are a great tool because it offers the retailer a way to start monetizing the data. And if you don't frequent the ice cream aisle like myself, Halo Top is a newer ice cream touted as a light ice cream, lower in calories and higher in protein, and it offers a much more healthy-esque indulgence. But traditional audiences merely flag this product by brand and category. Ultimately, it's the attribution that helps uncover its true customer segment, like the keto shopper, low-calorie shopper, high-protein shopper, strawberry lover. Using attribution can help you get to know your customers and again, really begin to understand that why behind the buy. Which brings us to paid search. Once you've activated upon the data across your e-commerce site framework, it is time to continue monetizing that data. Today, something that's kind of interesting is that while some retailers have started to monetize search, others are just now identifying this as an opportunity for discovery. A lot of retailers that have it today are enabling paid search where brands can bid on very generic terms like snacks or soda, which means when a consumer goes into your site and searches something hyper specific like keto snacks, it returns sponsored products in the first 1 to 3 spots for products that are likely not keto because they match on the term snacks, which really leaves the consumer a little confused and leaves money on the table because they're not going to click in and convert. So creating smarter paid search means a brand can bid on a more strategic term with higher conversion, sometimes at a higher cost, like keto snacks or organic protein bars, which yields more accurate and relevant results and happier consumers. It really becomes a win-win-win situation because the shopper receives only relevant product results back for their search. The CPG gets higher conversion rates and gains more customers than before. And the retailer shares in that conversion event, but also gets a shopper cart that has grown. The ideal future, like we discussed, it might be close for some retailers and maybe feel further away for others. But sort of regardless of where you find yourself and your organization on this digital journey, it is critical to build a path forward and start crawling, walking, and running, because your competition is. What's your 6-month plan, 1-year plan, 3-year roadmap? Chances are it involves an experience that requires data. I'm gonna pass it back over to Dave to help you understand a little bit more about Label Insight now.
Thanks, Brooke. So we're going to take a slight pivot and a brief history lesson on how we got here. Label Insight was born not out of an ambition to start a business, but rather to solve a family need. It was a need to make sense of the limited and often complex information on product labels in order to lead a better life. Many years later, we still tell the story of how we got our start and the problem we set out to solve, because our mission then is as vital today as it ever has been. We were founded by 2 brothers you see here, whose dad in the middle suffered a heart attack. To get well, his doctor prescribed a low-sodium, low-fat diet, free of trans and saturated fats and artificial ingredients. At first blush, those 5 dietary requirements seemed simple enough to our co-founder. I mean, after all, he had just graduated from college with a degree in nutrition. Surely with his knowledge, he could build a grocery list to help his dad get well. But what he quickly discovered, and what I think all of us can relate to, was that finding the information he needed from packaging to help his dad get well proved impossible. In order to answer what seemed like 5 simple questions, he realized those answers required answering tens of thousands more via analysis of every single ingredient and nutrient on package. And so that's what he did. He began walking the aisles of the grocery store, picking every product up off the shelf, and writing down every single piece of information on the label, every nutrient, ingredient, allergen, claim, certification, warning statement, literally every single piece of data, so he could go home at night to research it, to make sense of it in order to help his dad. Over time, he developed increasingly sophisticated ways to collect and catalog and make sense of the data. What he never could figure out was how to stop getting thrown out of the grocery store by store managers skeptical of what it was he was doing. And it wasn't until one day a store manager asked him, and he told him, and he responded with, "Can I buy that data from you?" He realized he was solving a challenge much greater than that of his family's needs. Today, with 55% of Americans affected by a food allergy or sensitivity or intolerance, and 64% adhering to some form of diet or health-related eating program, with the emergence of the practice of food as medicine, and the growth of e-commerce evolving the complexity with which consumers shop, the same problem we set out to solve so many years ago is as vital today as ever. Today, the label is not enough to meet the needs of consumers. There's insufficient space and information to answer all the questions consumers have about the products they use and consume, or to personalize an experience for a consumer with a specific set of needs and wants. That's why Label Insights technology automates derivation of up to 24,000 attributes for a single UPC. And a significant proportion of those attributes, as you can probably imagine, are product details otherwise hidden beneath complex scientific information on package, or a lack thereof altogether. It's latent data. It's not explicitly stated on the label, but it's crucial to meeting the demands of consumers. What our technology does is identify a raw piece of information from the label and ask a bunch of questions. For example, when an ingredient's identified, Label Insights technology asks, what is this? Is it a flavor? Is it a sweetener, a color, a preservative? Is it natural? Is it artificial? What allergen or intolerance properties does it have? What's its function? Why is it used in products like this? What can we now understand about this product from the perspective of diet or lifestyle, benefits, uses, and so on? We apply similar methods to every piece of information on package, and that's what enables Label Insight to answer any question a consumer has about a product, irrespective of an explicitly made claim on package. And we have so many questions: ketogenic, low sodium, diabetic support, no MSG, sustainable, vegan, good source of protein, low carb, contains superfoods, heart healthy, supports digestive health. It's an endlessly growing and it's a constantly changing list of questions, and Label Insight helps to provide the answers. For us, the name of the game is improving product discoverability. Take gluten-free. There are about 700 products manufactured for sale in the US that contain gluten-free in the product title. Many e-commerce sites, as Brooke mentioned, today rely solely on the data contained within the product title to power search, which means that across most channels, consumers aren't likely to find more than a few hundred gluten-free items when shopping online. Compare that to the nearly 60,000 CPG items in the US that make a gluten-free claim or carry a gluten-free certification, and the opportunity cost of getting this wrong or getting this right is plain to see. But then compare that to the total number of products that qualify as gluten-free based on ingredient analysis. It's more than 170,000, or 300% more discoverable products, and the power of derived attributes really comes clearly into view. The same is true for hundreds of attributes like heart healthy, low sodium, and artificial free, as you see illustrated here. Label Insights approach unlocks 99% of products that qualify for the most commonly searched attributes, that cater to the broad and varied list of needs and wants of consumers across all the questions and concerns consumers have related to diets, allergens, nutrients, ingredients, intolerances, lifestyles, benefits, and more. And it helps brands and retailers and ultimately consumers find digital shelves stocked with the products and their corresponding attributes that empower consumers with smarter data and better product choices to lead healthier, happier lives. We help retailers and brands improve not just upon the merely 1% of products able to be discovered by leveraging GDSN data or traditional data sets, and not just upon the 44% of products able to be discovered by leveraging the claims made on physical packaging, but the 99% of products that are able to be discovered by unlocking the complete item DNA of every CPG item sold online. So in summary, we'd urge the retailers and brands attending this webinar to take heed of the market forces of growing consumer health needs and changing buying behavior. There's a massive opportunity to better serve consumers. Consumers shopping for products that meet their needs are being underserved by retailers today. The good news is changes can be quickly implemented to address this challenge and greatly improve upon the shopper experience to build consumer loyalty. And Label Insight can help. Please take us up on our offer for a free audit of your site or your brand's data, and together we can empower consumers with product knowledge to lead healthier, happier lives. So that concludes the content for the webinar. I understand we got a number of great questions from the attendees, so I'll turn it over to Lauren and ask her to take us through some of them.
Thanks, Dave. We've had some thought-provoking questions come in throughout this discussion, so thanks to our audience today for all the engagement. Brooke, I'm going to direct this first one to you. Do you have any data to show how many consumers are using that search bar versus the advanced filters?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and I wish the answer was super simple. I think it really depends on how retailers are building out their site functionality. At some retailers, the faceted search or those filters are front and center as soon as you land on that page, and they'll be used a lot, especially if they're hitting those top need states. At other retailers, those filters could be really hidden further down the page, or maybe they don't have the most relevant product data there, and so that sort of dwindles their potential power. You know, if you work with specifically or represent a specific retailer as a brand, you know, it'd be a great question to start asking maybe the category managers, the site managers, or if you're interested in learning more and contacting us, it'd be something we could discuss in a deeper demo.
Thanks, Brooke. Dave, I'm going to direct this next one to you. What's the best way to figure out the attributes that matter the most for our shoppers?
Yeah, great question. You know, I mean, as Brooke showed us, this information is out there in the public domain, and certainly your retail partners want to collaborate with you to ensure that they're collecting as well as maintaining this type of information from their vendor community. They also have a lot of data on how consumers are shopping their site and the search terms that they're using to shop. So I'd encourage you to engage in that conversation with your retail partners. There are also solution providers, Label Insight among them, that have access to consumer panels that volunteer their demonstrable behavior online and the keywords they use to shop for groceries across channels like Amazon and Kroger and Target and Walmart. We analyze this on an ongoing basis, and it's really fascinating to see the level to which these terms change over time. And as Brooke mentioned too, differ from one channel to the next. So I would encourage everybody to seek out the information that is available from your retail partners, but also to invest in tools and solutions to help you keep your thumb on the pulse of this constantly changing landscape around consumer need.
Thanks, Dave. I'm going to turn it back to you, Brooke, for a question from a retailer. They're just beginning to think about offering advanced filters on their site. What do you recommend as our starting point in a crawl, walk, run approach, like you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, you know, I really do think it's important to take a moment and really think. We kind of discussed earlier in the webinar that there's 3 key factors to consider. One, what are the right filters? And I think Dave gave some really great advice as to how you pick what those attributes should be. But 2, making sure you really have that data present in your system, and whether it's your MDM or your PIM, you need to have a source of truth that it can rely on. And 3rd is sort of what's that functionality going to look like? You know, how do you make sure consumers are actively able to see these and experience it? And making sure you have a plan in place for all of them before you just dump something that exists on the site just for the sake of ease. You know, making sure you check each box as you go and think strategically about now versus 6 months versus a year. And I think most retailers we see will start with a smaller set of filters, but make sure they're really the ones that are going to drive the most growth for you. And then as you experience ROI and more consumers using those filters, iterating from there and expanding those across larger departments and segments and more attributes over time.
Thanks, Brooke. I'm going to stick to you for this next one. We already have a PIM in place and multiple sources of product data. What's the best first step to make sense of all of it and know what is the source of truth?
Yeah, I feel like when we walk into a retailer, this is definitely one of the first questions we get is, you know, we have data coming from brands, we have data coming from syndication partners, we have data that's already existed in our system or through maybe other acquisitions. We might have solution provider data. But in the end, I have to get it to one set of truth that's going to power everything at my site. And I think my advice would be to make sure your system can be flexible. What most retailers that we've worked with have found successful is having the ability to define a hierarchy system of data inputs by field, meaning maybe something like supply chain data, the brand will absolutely reign supreme, or a syndication partner reigns supreme. But something like a custom attribute or an off-package insight or search functionality comes from someone like a solution provider that can really quickly standardize your entire database, making the output much easier for your data science and engineering teams to do development on. But having that flexibility is really important. And there are definitely a lot of key stakeholders across your organization that you would want to get in a room for a cross-functional discussion and strategy session.
Thanks, Brooke. Dave, I'm going to give you this next one, another one from a brand. How do you recommend suppliers partner with their retailers to ensure their products are being found by those online shoppers that need them?
Yeah, great question. You know, I think probably the best place to start is investment in tools like product information management systems to create a single source of truth within your organization that allows you to syndicate out to all of your retail partners all the questions that they have. I think, you know, it's also really important to not just think about having the level of vigilance required at initial item setup to make sure that you're equipping your retail partners with all of the questions they have about your products, but really thinking about how do you keep a maintenance mechanism in place, because products reformulate all the time, packaging renovates all the time, and you know, as we've shared, so too does the regulatory landscape and landscape of consumer need. I think it's also about, you know, not just partnering with your retail partners, but partnering within your own organization at a brand, you know, understanding who are the other stakeholders when it comes to things like claims approval. We no longer live in a brick and mortar world where the traditional approach to commercialization and packaging meets the need of consumers. There is this vast landscape of real estate that brands and retailers can take advantage of to answer all these questions that consumers have. And you might find after the fact, you know, as Brooke noted, ketogenic was not the thing that it is today 2 years ago. But if brands don't have a system in place to have an understanding of how their products may or may not qualify for a trending attribute like that, and a way to get that data approved so that it can be communicated out to your retail partners, they're going to fall short from disruptor brands that are doing the same thing.
Thanks, Dave. Brooke, I'm going to turn back to you for this last question, also from a retailer. How often do my advanced filters need to be updated in order to keep up with those changing consumer trends?
Yeah, that's also a great question. You know, I really think it depends. And, you know, I think for us, the gold standard would be kind of reevaluating those on an ongoing basis. And I would say even as much as quarterly, and that may feel like a revolving door, like, oh, well, that means as soon as I'm done evaluating this quarter, it's going to be next quarter, and I'm going to be doing the exact same thing again. But ultimately, you know, just making small incremental progress until you're able to get to that point. So if you haven't reviewed yours in a long time, you know, make a plan for, you know, end of year or beginning of Q1 to go in and look at them and review and do a category level analysis. You know, there are great tools out there and providers that can help make this easier over time. Like Dave said, you know, we're able to help analyze search data and understand what's happening. But if you can put the right processes and tools in place, analyzing this search data so that you can keep your filters and facets, et cetera, up to date really only represents a positive option with more ROI. The more relevant your facets are, the more often consumers are going to click into there. The more often consumers are going to feel like you're investing in their experience and trying to make their shopping experience better. You know, and retailers really serve a role as helping educate consumers too. And so it's a really powerful spot to be to help kind of control the types of products that are going to experience growth within your assortment.
Thanks, Brooke. Thanks, Dave, for all the answers to the questions. And for the audience, if any other questions come up for you, we're always happy to answer those through email or have a conversation. So reach out to us anytime. Keep an eye out for the recording, which will be sent to the email you registered with. You'll also receive a copy of the full Empty Aisles report, which will be released next week. And if you're a retailer and you want to get a custom audit of your own e-commerce experience, reach out to us at the email address here on the screen, marketing@labelinsight.com. If you're a brand, we can provide you with a free analysis of your product attributes. On behalf of all of us at Label Insight, thank you all for your time today and stay well.